Lee stood in the cargo bay of station and wondered if coming here was a mistake. The station stretched out in all directions, a massive wheel of metal and lights spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Dozens of alien species walked past him without a second glance. Some were tall and insect-like. Others had too many arms or eyes. A few looked almost human, but their skin was the wrong color or their movements were too smooth. He was 19 years old and very far from Earth. "You the new human?" a voice asked. Turned to see a woman with short black hair and tired eyes. She wore the same gray maintenance uniform he did. "Yes, Lee, I'm the new engineer." The woman looked him up and down. She was not impressed. "I haul cargo here. Listen, kid, keep your head down, don't talk back, don't make trouble. Humans are still new here. Most aliens think we're weak." "I'm not weak," said quietly. Shook her head. "Doesn't matter what you are. Matters what they think you are. Trust me on this." Before could respond, a loud clicking sound filled the bay. A massive insect-like creature approached them. It stood on 6 legs and had a shell that looked like dark metal. Its eyes were compound and black, reflecting the station lights like oil. This was Al, the station overseer, had seen his picture in the briefing files. "Human," Al said. His voice came from somewhere in his throat and sounded like grinding gears. "You are late." "I just arrived on the transport, sir. I came straight here." "Excuses, typical soft behavior." Al's mandibles clicked together. "Your species has been in the council for 40 years. You still act like children, weak, fragile. You should have stayed on your little planet." Felt his face grow hot, but he remembered advice. He said nothing. "Your first task," Al continued. "Level 6 waste processing needs cleaning. The filtration system failed. There is organic waste on the floors. You will clean it, by hand." Stepped forward. "Sir, that's a 2-person job and it requires protective gear." "Did I ask you, cargo pusher?" Al's front legs tapped the ground. "The human will do it alone. Perhaps it will teach him humility." Swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." The next 6 hours were the worst of his life. The waste processing area smelled like death and chemicals. The organic waste came from a dozen different species, and some of it was toxic to touch. His thin gloves tore twice. By the end, his hands were blistered and his uniform was ruined. Other workers passed by and laughed. Some took pictures. When he finally finished, he found waiting outside with a clean uniform. "You survived," she said. "That's something." "Does he always?" "Yes, he does, especially to humans." Handed him the uniform. "Change quick, get some sleep. Tomorrow won't be better." But could not sleep. He walked the station trying to learn the layout. That was when he met. The small alien was curled up in a maintenance corridor crying. At least thought it was crying. Was one of the smallest species in the council. He looked like a cross between a rabbit and a seal, with soft gray fur and huge eyes. Right now, those eyes were leaking clear fluid. "Are you okay?" asked. "Jumped, please don't hurt me." "I won't hurt you, what's wrong?" "I made a mistake, just a small one, but Overseer Al says he will space me. He says one more mistake and I go out the airlock." His voice shook. "I have a family, I send money home. If I die, they starve." Felt something cold settle in his stomach. "That's illegal. Council law says." "Council law is far away. Al is here." Wiped his eyes. "I'm sorry, I should not burden you. You're new. You have your own troubles." They talked for an hour. Had worked on the station for 3 years. He was brilliant with computers and engineering, but Al gave him impossible deadlines and blamed him when things went wrong. Many of the other overseers did the same to their weakest workers. The strong preyed on the weak. That was how things worked in the galaxy. Went to bed angry. 3 days later, he saw Al corner in the docking bay. They had apparently a cargo container. It was a minor error, easily fixed, but Al was shouting, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "Useless, worthless, I should throw you out right now." Was on the ground, trembling. A crowd had gathered to watch. Saw in the crowd her face hard and sad. He saw other workers, aliens of all species, and not one of them moved to help. This was entertainment to them. And then saw the others. They stood at the edge of the crowd and everyone gave them space. They were massive, at least 8 feet tall, with dark red scales and 4 powerful arms. Their heads were reptilian, with rows of sharp teeth visible even when their mouths were closed. They wore minimal armor, and every piece of equipment they carried looked like a weapon. Recognized them from the briefing files. The apex predators of their world evolved into a warrior race. They were not part of the council. They followed their own code. They were respected and feared by everyone. Right now, they were watching Al Bully with cold, calculating eyes. Did not think, he just moved. "Stop," he said, walking forward. The crowd went silent. Al turned his massive head toward. "What did you say, human?" "I said stop. You're violating Council Regulation 47. You can't threaten execution for minor errors." Al laughed. It sounded like rocks breaking. "You dare quote regulations to me, you who crawled through waste 3 days ago?" "Someone has to." His heart was pounding, but he kept his voice steady. "Let go." "Or what?" Al moved closer. He loomed over 3 times his size. "What will you do, soft? Will you fight me? Will you report me? Who will believe a human over a senior overseer?" Had no answer. He just stood there between Al and... The overseer's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Pathetic. You humans think you're special. You think your little planet makes you strong, but you're just prey that learned to use tools." He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Let this be a lesson. Humans are weak. They talk about rules and justice, but when strength confronts them, they freeze like frightened animals." Al shoved aside with one leg, hit the ground hard. "Clean the air filters in Section 9, Al said. "All of them, by tomorrow morning, or join your furry friend in the airlock." The crowd dispersed, helped to his feet. "Thank you," the whispered. "But you should not have done that. Now he will make your life worse." Watched Al walk away. "Maybe, but I couldn't just stand there." What did not see was the largest of the warriors turning to his companion. "That one is interesting," the Reaver said softly. "Small, weak, but he stepped forward when others would not." His second-in-command tilted her head. "He has the scent." Yes, the scent of prey that might bite back. His teeth showed in what might have been a smile. "Watch him. I want to see what he does next." The air filters were a nightmare. There were 87 of them scattered throughout Section 9, and each one required manual cleaning. Worked through the night, his hands raw and his body exhausted. By morning, he had finished 73. It was not enough. Al arrived at dawn with station security. The chief of security was another insect-like alien named, smaller than Al but with meaner eyes. 14 filters remain dirty, Al announced to the gathered workers. The human failed his task. "I need 3 more hours," started. "You had all night, you failed." Al turned to note this violation added to his record. Was too tired to argue. He stumbled back to his quarters and slept for 4 hours. When he woke, was banging on his door. "Get up," she said. "Something's wrong." "What now?" "There's a coolant leak in the main reactor. A big one. Station command says it came from Section 9. They're saying you sabotaged it." His blood ran cold. "I would never." "I know that, but they found your maintenance logs at the site. Your tool marks on the compromised pipe, and guess who reported it?" "Al." Bingo looked scared. "This is serious. People could die from a coolant leak. They're calling it attempted murder. Station law says that's a spacing offense." "I didn't do it." "Doesn't matter. They have evidence." 2 hours later, sat in a holding cell. The walls were clear plastic, letting everyone see him. Station workers walked by and pointed. Some spit at the plastic. The species, Al's people, clicked their mandibles in what passed for laughter. Came to the cell with a data pad. You will be spaced in 24 hours. The evidence is clear. You sabotaged critical station infrastructure because the overseer gave you hard work. Typical human behavior. You can't handle discipline. I want to see the evidence, said. You have no rights. You're not a citizen. You're a contract worker who tried to murder thousands. Walked away. Sat alone for hours. He was not afraid of dying exactly, but the injustice burned in him. He had done nothing wrong. He had only tried to help, and now he would die for it. Visited him at midnight. The small looked terrified. I am so sorry, whispered. This is my fault, if I had not made that mistake. This isn't your fault, it's Al's. He planned this. Looked at the cell door. It was electronic, controlled from a central panel. You're good with computers, right? Yes, but... Look at this lock. Is there a flaw? His huge eyes studied the mechanism. Maybe. It has an older model circuit. If you had a conductor wire, you could short the... He stopped. But that would be escaping. They would hunt you down. I'm dead anyway, but if I escape, I can reach the maintenance logs. The real ones, not the ones Al modified. Leaned close. I need to prove my innocence. Can you get me wire? Hesitated, then nodded. Give me 10 minutes. The returned with a thin piece of conductor wire hidden in his fur. He passed it through the food slot. Be careful, whispered. The warriors are still on the station. I heard they watch everything. Let them watch. It took 30 minutes to short the lock. The door slid open with a soft hiss. He stepped into the corridor and immediately heard alarms. That was faster than he expected. Ran. He knew the station layout by now, all those lonely walks memorizing corridors and vents. He headed for the maintenance tunnels, the cramped spaces where the station's guts were exposed. Most aliens were too big to follow him there. But not all of them. His voice echoed through the station speakers. Escaped prisoner in Sector 7. All personnel apprehend on site. Use of force is authorized. Crawled through a ventilation shaft, then dropped into a service tunnel. He could hear footsteps behind him, many footsteps. He ran faster, his lungs burning. He reached a junction and turned left, remembering a shortcut. Behind him, security shouted orders. Grabbed a loose pipe from the wall and jammed it into the door mechanism as he passed through. The door sealed behind him. It would not hold them long, but he only needed minutes. The tunnel opened into a large cargo area. Sprinted across it, heading for the access ladder to the central computer deck. That was when he saw them. The warriors stood near their ship, arms crossed, watching him run. Their massive forms cast long shadows. Expected them to stop him or call security, but they just watched with those cold, calculating eyes. The largest one, the leader, nodded slowly, like he approved. Did not have time to wonder why. He climbed the ladder 3 rungs at a time. The computer deck was restricted but had maintenance clearance. His codes still worked, had not thought to revoke them yet. He accessed the maintenance logs and started downloading. His hands flew across the keyboard, searching for the evidence. There. The timestamp on his supposed sabotage was wrong. He had been in his quarters at that time, his door logs proved it. And there, the modifications to the pipe. The tool marks were made by an industrial cutter, not his hand tools. He everything to a data chip. Boots thundered on the ladder. Security was close. Saw the communications panel. He could send the data to Station Command, but they would just delete it. He needed everyone to see it. He jacked into the station-wide broadcast system and uploaded the evidence. Every screen on station suddenly showed the real maintenance logs, the timestamps, the evidence of Al's sabotage. His voice came through the speakers. My name is Lee. I am innocent. This evidence proves Overseer Al framed me. He sabotaged the coolant system. He modified logs to blame me. This is the truth. The door burst open. Rushed in with 6 guards, weapons drawn. You just made this worse, human, snarled. The whole station saw the evidence. Evidence can be explained away. Dead witnesses cannot testify. Raised his weapon. Council law is slow. Airlocks are fast. Take him to Bay 7. The guards grabbed, he fought, but they were too strong. They dragged him through the corridors. Workers and aliens watched but did nothing. Saw in the crowd, her face twisted with anger and helplessness. They reached the airlock bay, opened the inner door. Any last words, human? Thought of Earth, of his family, of the injustice of dying light years from home for a crime he did not commit. I was right, he said, and you were wrong, that matters. Touching, throw him in. The guards moved forward. And then a voice like grinding stones stopped them cold. This one is under observation. Touch him and you answer to me. Everyone turned. The Reaver stood at the bay entrance, his 4 arms relaxed but ready. The other warriors flanked him, including the female warrior. His mandibles clicked nervously. This is station business. They have no jurisdiction here. We have the jurisdiction of strength, said calmly. If you disagree, challenge me. Single combat right now. Silence filled the bay. No one challenged a warlord. No one was that stupid. Al pushed through the crowd. He is a saboteur, a criminal. He is innocent. His broadcast proved it. Your lies are exposed. Eyes fixed on Al. You attempted murder and framed a worker under your authority. By your own laws, that is a crime. He's just a human, a weak, pathetic. Release him now. The guards looked at Al. No one moved. Stepped forward and simply picked up with 2 arms. She carried him away from the guards like he weighed nothing. The other closed ranks, forming a wall. This matter is now a concern, announced. Anyone who objects can bring their objection to my ship, one at a time. No one objected. Found himself carried through the station on a warrior's shoulders, too shocked to speak. They brought him to their ship, a dark vessel that smelled of metal and something wild. Inside, dismissed the other warriors and studied with eyes that seemed to see through him. You interest me, small one, the warlord said. You were prey. You had every reason to hide and hope for mercy. Instead, you fought. You used cleverness and knowledge of terrain. You did not cry or beg. Why? Found his voice, because I was right. Truth does not stop blades or bullets. No, but it matters anyway. His teeth showed in a smile. My people have a tradition. We call it, it means prey that hunts. When we find another species who fights with courage against impossible odds, we can recognize them as kindred. It is rare. It has not happened in 300 years. What does that mean? It means I offer you a trial. Survive 1 hour in combat against a warrior. If you live, you gain our protection. You become brother. If you refuse, I will not help you against station security. Looked at the massive alien. If I refuse, then your broadcast will help you, perhaps. Council law moves slowly, and I'll move fast. And if I die in this trial, then you die with honor, which is more than that airlock would have given you. Thought of the airlock, of Al's lies, of dying for nothing. At least this was a choice. I accept. The combat arena was a circular room deep in the ship. The walls were metal, marked with claw marks and burns. The floor had dark stains that tried not to think about. A dozen warriors stood around the perimeter, watching with hungry eyes. Led to the center of the arena. The rules are simple. You must survive 1 hour. You may use any means. The environment is yours to exploit. Will not kill you intentionally, but accidents happen in combat. Who is? A door opened on the opposite side of the arena. A young warrior entered. He was smaller than the others, only about 7 feet tall, but his muscles rippled under his scales. His 4 arms ended in clawed hands. His eyes were bright orange and fixed on with intense focus. My youngest son said, he is eager to prove himself. Do not expect mercy because of his age. He has killed 12 opponents in ritual combat. Flexed his 4 arms and smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Hello, little human, try to survive. It makes the fight more interesting. Studied the arena. There were pipes along the ceiling, some leaking steam, control panels on the walls, magnetic grappling plates used to anchor ships during repairs, a gravity control console near the door. The had said he could use the environment. He would need to. Begin, commanded. Moved like lightning. He crossed the arena in 3 massive strides, 2 arms reaching for, dove to the side, rolling past the legs. Claws scraped the floor where he had been standing. Too fast, way too fast. Ran for the wall, heading for the control panels. Caught up in seconds and swung a clawed hand. Ducked under it and kicked off the wall, using the low gravity to propel himself toward the ceiling pipes. He grabbed a pipe and swung himself up. The metal was hot, burning his hands, but he held on. Leaped after him, but had already pulled himself onto a higher pipe, scrambling like a monkey. Running will not save you, called, but he sounded more amused than angry. His mind raced. He could not fight, he was not strong enough. He needed to control the environment, make the come to him on terms not his own. He crawled along the pipe toward the steam vent. Below, paced, watching, waiting for it to make a mistake. Reached the vent control. It was a simple valve marked with symbols. He studied it for 3 seconds, guessing at the function, then twisted it hard. Steam exploded from vents all around the arena. Thick, white clouds filled the space, making it impossible to see. Heard growl in frustration. Good, level the playing field. Humans could not see better in steam than but knew where he was. Had to search. Dropped from the pipes and moved silently along the wall. His hands found the magnetic plate controls. These were used to anchor equipment during zero-gravity work, if he could activate them at the right moment. A massive shape loomed out of the steam. Moving carefully now, his orange eyes glowing in the white fog. Pressed himself against the wall, barely breathing. Passed within inches of him. Reached the gravity control console. It was more complex than the steam valve, covered in alien script, but the symbols were standardized across council space. He had seen similar controls on station. He found what he thought was the localized gravity setting and adjusted it. Part of the arena floor suddenly shifted to low gravity. In mid-step, found himself floating. He thrashed his arms, trying to find purchase. Activated a magnetic plate directly above the low-gravity zone. The effect was spectacular. Was pulled upward by the magnetic field while gravity barely held him down. He spun in the air, caught between 2 forces, his 4 arms grasping at nothing. Had maybe 10 seconds before the figured out how to escape. He ran to the next control panel, looking for anything else he could use. His fingers found a button marked with a warning symbol. In his experience, warning symbols meant power. He pressed it. The arena's training drones activated. 4 small flying robots emerged from wall compartments, their purpose to provide moving targets for warriors. They zipped through the steam, their sensors confused, flying in erratic patterns. One drone smashed into, who had just managed to pull himself free of the magnetic field. The impact sent him spinning. He roared in anger and swiped at the drone, destroying it with one blow. But the distraction gave time to move again. 15 minutes had passed, 45 to go. Strategy became clear in his mind. He could not win. He could only survive. That meant staying mobile, staying unpredictable, using everything in this arena as a weapon or shield. The steam began to clear. Now furious, charged across the arena, saw him coming and dove through a narrow gap between 2 pipes, tried to follow but was too large. His shoulders stuck. He pulled himself free, leaving scales on the metal. Used the pipes like a jungle gym, swinging and climbing, always moving. Followed, his patience wearing thin. The young began taking wild swipes, damaging equipment, his controlled fighting style replaced by frustrated aggression. Mistake, angry fighters make errors. 30 minutes. His arms burned. His hands were cut and blistered. His body was covered in bruises from impacts and near misses, but he was still alive. Cornered him near the gravity controls. 2 arms blocked escape to the left, 2 to the right. His chest heaved with effort. You are clever, human, I grant you that, but cleverness ends. Surrender. I will make it quick. His hand rested on the gravity control. I'm not done yet. He maxed the gravity setting. The entire arena suddenly felt like it was made of lead, collapsed to his knees under 5 times normal gravity, but who was much larger and heavier, crashed to the floor with a sound like thunder. His 4 arms struggled to push himself up. Forced himself to crawl. Every movement hurt. His ribs felt like they might crack, but he crawled away from back toward the normal gravity zone. He reached it and gulped air, his body trembling. Behind him, roared and slowly, incredibly, began to stand even under the crushing gravity. The species was built for punishment. Reset the gravity to normal before his opponent could reach him. Stumbled forward as the weight suddenly lifted, off balance. 45 minutes. His vision blurred. He was running on adrenaline and desperation. Looked tired too, his movements slower, but still far more dangerous than could handle in a direct fight. They circled each other in the now clear arena. The warriors watching had fallen silent. This was not how these trials usually went. Feinted left, then attacked right. Tried to dodge but was too slow. Claws raked across his shoulder, drawing blood. Gasped and rolled away, clutching the wound. Moved in for the finish. And stepped on a magnetic plate had activated remotely. The young's feet locked to the floor. He pulled, his massive strength beginning to tear the plate from its moorings, but it bought precious seconds. Seconds he used to spot the failing support beam. During the fight, had damaged several pipes and wall supports. One beam near the ceiling was cracked and leaking hydraulic fluid. If it fell. Grabbed a piece of broken drone and threw it at the beam's damaged section. The metal was already weak. The impact was enough. The beam fell with a shriek of tearing metal, right toward. Screamed, move. Some instinct made look up. His eyes widened. He pulled with all 4 arms, ripping the magnetic plate from the floor, and threw himself sideways. The beam crashed where he had been standing. Lay on the floor, chest heaving. He could have died. The beam would have crushed him, but the human had warned him. Why? Gasped. I'm trying not to die, said, panting. You trying to die doesn't help me. Stared at him. Then, incredibly, he started to laugh. It was a rough, barking sound. You fight without honor weapons, yet with honor, slowly stood. You could have let me die, that would have ended the trial. That's not winning, that's just luck and an accident. Time called, 1 hour has passed. Collapsed to his knees, his body finally giving up. He had survived, barely, but he had survived. Approached and extended one hand. Took it, and pulled him to his feet with surprising gentleness. You are prey that hunts, said softly. I understand now what my father saw. Entered the arena at his side. The warlord studied with those ancient, knowing eyes. You used intelligence over strength, environment over muscle. You saved your opponent when you could have let him die. These are the marks of, drew a curved blade from his belt. Kneel. Knelt, too tired to question. Pressed the blade's flat side against his shoulder. It burned and bit back a scream. When the blade lifted, a glowing mark remained on his skin, the symbol of his clan. By the old ways, by blood and trial, I name you brother. You are under protection. Any who harm you answer to my clan. His voice carried through the ship. Let it be known across this station and beyond. The human Li is ours. The warriors struck their chests in unison, a sound like war drums. Stepped forward and offered a container of medical gel. That was impressive, human. I did not think you would last 10 minutes. I didn't think I would last 5, admitted. Laughed again. Brother, you have taught me humility. Perhaps I should thank you for that. Maybe don't try to kill me next time you want to learn something. Where is the fun in that? Despite everything, the pain, the exhaustion, the near-death smiled. He had been mocked as weak. He had been called prey, but he had survived. And now, standing in a ship full of the galaxy's most feared predators, he was called brother. It was not what he expected when he came to station, but it was enough. When returned to station, everything had changed. The glowing mark on his shoulder marked him as brother. Other species saw it and backed away. The corridors seemed wider because people gave him space. Alan had been arrested by council authorities. His broadcast and this testimony forced the council to act. Both aliens now sat in holding cells, awaiting trial on charges of attempted murder and corruption. Found in the maintenance bay 3 days later, she punched his arm hard. "Al, what was that for?" "For making me think you were dead," she said. Then she hugged him quickly before stepping back and pretending it did not happen. "The whole station's talking about you, the human who fought and lived. Some aliens think you're crazy, others think you're lucky. Me, I think you're both. I feel lucky to be alive." Word is spreading beyond the station. Other humans on council worlds are hearing about this. "You're kind of famous now." Groaned, "I just wanted to fix engines and stay out of trouble." Too late for that. She was right. Over the next week, noticed the changes. Other humans on the station walked taller. Aliens who had ignored them now showed respect. Not because humans had changed, but because one human had earned the respect of the. It made uncomfortable. He had not done anything special. He had just refused to give up. Visited him constantly, bringing small gifts and thanking him repeatedly. "You saved my life. I owe you everything." "You saved mine too. That wire you gave me let me escape." "That was just wire. You were the one who faced a warrior in combat." They stayed on the station longer than planned. Said they were resupplying, but suspected they were watching over him. Trained him in basic combat techniques during this time, teaching him how fought. "You will never be as strong as us," she said, deflecting his clumsy punch with one hand. "But you can be fast. You can be smart. Use what your body can do, not what it cannot." On the 8th day, a human shuttle arrived at the station. A well-dressed man disembarked, his eyes sharp and calculating. He found in the mess hall. "Lee, I'm Park, council diplomat for human interests." He sat down without being invited. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About keeping you alive." Pulled out a data pad. "Your broadcast exposed not just Al and the evidence you found also revealed connections to the Syndicate, a criminal organization that operates across council space. They had deals with those too, smuggling, illegal arms protection rackets. You just cost them millions of credits and exposed their network on this station." Stomach dropped. "I didn't mean to." "Doesn't matter. The Syndicate has put a bounty on your head, 2 million credits. Dead, preferably, but alive works too." Leaned forward. "They want you before you testify at the council hearing next month." "They will protect me." "They are leaving tomorrow. They have their own business. They cannot guard you forever." His expression was grim. "The Syndicate has already sent killers, a team called the Talons. They're the best money can buy. Military-grade training, high-tech weapons, zero mercy." "What do I do?" "Testify quickly and get into protective custody, or run and hide for the rest of your life." Stood. "I've arranged for extra security. It won't be enough if the Talons come in force, but it's something. The hearing is in 3 weeks. You just have to survive that long." When left, sat alone with his thoughts. He had escaped an airlock. He had survived a trial, but professional killers, that was different. Found him an hour later. "I heard about the Syndicate." "News travels fast." "I'm not leaving you alone. Neither is we've got your back." "You don't have to." "Yes, we do. You stood up when no one else would. Now it's our turn." She crossed her arms. "Besides, they aren't leaving yet. I heard talking to the station commander. He's delaying his departure. Why? Because you're his brother now, and don't abandon family. The Talons arrived on the station 2 days later disguised as traders and tourists. There were 5 of them. Their leader was an assassin known for killing 3 warriors in his career. The team also included a hacker named, a sniper called, and 2 human mercenaries, one of them Shin, an ex-soldier with a bitter hatred for aliens. They did not attack immediately. Professional killers were patient, they watched, they learned routines, they planned. Called a meeting in his ship, and attended, and stood guard. The hunters have arrived, said without preamble. My warriors have identified them. They are skilled, dangerous. Can your warriors stop them? Asked. In open combat, yes, but they will not attack openly. They will use surprise, explosives, poison. Station combat favors the clever, not the strong. Looked at. They will come for you in 3 days, perhaps 4. They are cutting off your escape routes, studying your patterns. So what do we do? Asked. We turn the station into a trap, said quietly. Make them come to us on our terms. Everyone looked at him. The maintenance tunnels, continued. I know them better than anyone. We can set up defenses there. Force them to fight in spaces where their numbers and weapons don't matter as much. His teeth showed in a smile. The human thinks like prey that hunts. Good. They planned for 2 days, mapped out defensive positions, rigged sensors to detect intruders, stockpiled weapons and supplies, provided council intelligence on the Talons' methods. They offered their warriors as a visible deterrent and hidden backup. The attack came on the 3rd night. The hacker cut the lights in sector. The darkness was total. Warned by sensors, was already moving through the maintenance tunnels with. They're in Section 4's voice came through their comms. 2 of them, moving toward your last known position. Let them come, whispered. The tunnel was narrow, lit only by small. He had set up traps here, loose panels that would collapse, magnetic fields that would scramble equipment, choke points where even a small group could hold off larger forces. Footsteps echoed behind them, fast, professional. Go, go, pushed forward. They reached a junction and split up. Took the right tunnel, drawing one pursuer, went left. He heard the panel collapse behind him and someone curse. One trap sprung. But the other pursuer was still coming. Turned off his and moved by memory. He knew these tunnels, his hunter did not. A weapon fired. Energy bolts scorched the walls inches from his head. He dove into a side passage and scrambled up a vertical shaft. His hands found the ladder rungs through practice and desperation. Above him he reached a catwalk and ran. His pursuer followed, slower now, more cautious. Reached the cargo bay. Was there, pinned down behind a container. The sniper had her in his sights from an elevated position. She could not move without being shot. Did not think, he just acted. He grabbed a cargo hook and threw it at this position. It missed, but the distraction made turn. Took the shot. Her weapon caught the sniper in the shoulder, spinning him around. He did not fall but retreated, injured. Thanks, gasped. We need to get to the central hub. That's where is coordinating from. They ran together, checking corners, covering each other. Behind them, the sounds of combat echoed through the station. They had engaged some of the Talons in the main corridors. Roars and weapon fire mixed in a terrible symphony. They reached the hub, sat surrounded by screens, his small hands flying across keyboards. I'm blocking their hacker, but he's good, very good. He keeps trying to open airlocks, cut life support. Sfur was standing on end with stress. 2 of the Talons are heading this way. The 2 humans. How long until they arrive? 3 minutes. Appeared from a side entrance, his weapon drawn. I'll help defend, but we're running out of time and options. The door exploded inward. Shin entered first, his weapon sweeping the room. Behind him came the other human mercenary. They both wore combat armor and moved like trained soldiers. Lee said, "You're making humans look weak, hiding behind aliens, begging for protection." "I'm making humans look smart," replied. "We survive by working together, not isolating ourselves." "You survive by being a coward," raised his weapon. Shot first. Her bolt hits armor, not penetrating but staggering him. Fired at the second mercenary, forcing him to take cover. The firefight was brief and brutal. Went down with a leg wound. His weapon overheated and jammed. Hid under his console, terrified. Advanced on, weapon aimed at his head. "Any last words?" "Yes, duck." Frowned, then heard the sound behind him, the heavy footsteps of a warrior. Had arrived, his 4 arms holding weapons that looked like ancient human sword guns. He fired twice, hitting the second mercenary and sending him crashing into the wall, unconscious. Spun and fired at. The bolts hit this armor, making him stagger but not fall. "You want him," rumbled. "You go through me first." "I've killed aliens before," snarled. "I've killed humans before," replied. "The difference is I have honor." They fought. It was savage and quick. Was skilled but was. In 30 seconds was disarmed and on the ground, his foot on his chest. "Brother," said two, "what should we do with this one?" Before could answer's voice came through the comms. "Needs help. Docking Bay 7 is there." The assassin had challenged the warlord directly. And ran. Docking Bay 7 was a war zone. Cargo containers lay scattered like toys. Scorch marks covered the walls, and in the center and fought with a savagery that makes blood run cold. Was massive for his carapace reinforced with combat implants. His 6 legs moved in perfect coordination, his mandibles dripped with poison. He had killed 3 warriors in his life, and now he wanted a 4th. Bled from a dozen wounds but fought with the calm precision of a master. His 4 arms held 2 blades and 2 pistols. He moved like a dancer, every motion efficient and deadly. They were evenly matched, too evenly matched. "This is personal for him," said, standing beside. "His clan was killed by 200 years ago. He blames us all. Can win. Alone, maybe, but he is tired. He fought through 4 talons to reach. Hands tightened on his weapons. I should help him." "You can't," said, appearing behind them with 3 other warriors. "This is a challenge, 1-on-1. To interfere would dishonor both of them." Watched the fight, was gaining the advantage. His poison was slowing his movements. His speed was unnatural, enhanced by illegal combat drugs. "He's cheating," said. "Yes, but proving it means stopping the fight. By the time we confirm the drugs might be dead." His voice was tight with frustration. "Honor binds us, even when our enemy has none." Pressed his advantage. One of his strikes got through his defense, cutting deep into the warlord's side. Staggered, his left arms dropping their weapons. The assassin moved in for the kill. Did not think about honor or rules. He thought about calling him brother, about teaching him to fight, about patient training, about what it meant to be prey that hunts, weakness that becomes strength through cleverness. He ran forward. "No," shouted. Grabbed a loose cargo hook from the floor and threw it at. The hook hit in one of his compound eyes, not causing real damage but distracting him for 1 crucial second. Turned his head toward, his mandibles clicked in fury. Used that second. His remaining good hand drove a blade up into his thorax, into the soft spot beneath the carapace where all were vulnerable. Screamed. It was a horrible clicking sound that echoed through the bay. He tried to turn back but the blade had pierced something vital. He collapsed, legs twitching, poison leaking from his mandibles. Pulled his blade free and stood over his fallen enemy. Then he looked at. For a long moment, no one spoke. "You interfered," said. "I did." "You broke the honor code." "I did." Wiped the blood from his blade. "Good. Honor means nothing if my brother dies. You fight like prey that hunts. You ignore rules that would kill you. This is as it should be. Laughed a sound like grinding stones. The human just taught us something. Perhaps our honor code is too rigid. Perhaps, agreed. Or perhaps humans simply think differently. It makes them valuable allies. Medical teams arrived. Refused treatment until all his warriors were checked first. Died before help could arrive, his own poison and blade doing their work. The remaining Talons surrendered when they learned their leader was dead. Station security, now under new management, took them into custody. Shin, injured but alive, sat in a cell and stared at the wall. When visited him later, the mercenary looked up with haunted eyes. "Why did you save that?" asked. "The honor code would have kept them from interfering, might have died. That would have solved your problem." "Because that's not who I am," said. "And because he's my brother, I don't let brothers die when I can help." "You're soft, weak." "Maybe, but I'm alive, and I have friends. What do you have?" Had no answer. The council hearing happened 3 weeks later, via hologram from Station, telling everything he knew about the syndicate's operations. His evidence, combined with data recovered from the Talon's equipment, led to 17 arrests across 4 systems. The crime boss Mora was captured trying to flee council space. She cursed its name as authorities led her away. After the hearing, things slowly returned to normal, except normal had changed. Was promoted to head of station security. She accepted on the condition that she could reform the corruption that had poisoned the previous administration. Station command, terrified of another scandal, agreed immediately. Became lead engineer for the maintenance division. No one questioned his skills anymore. No one dared, with as his friend and warriors as occasional visitors. Offered a position as human-alien relations specialist with the council. "You've shown that humans can bridge species differences. We need more like you." But had a different idea. He established the Bridge Initiative, a program that trained young humans and aliens together. The goal was simple: teach them to work as teams, to see past species differences, to understand that strength came in many forms. The first class had 12 students, 3 humans, including 2 young people named and Myra, who had heard story and traveled to specifically to learn from him. The rest were aliens, even one young whose clan had disowned him for wanting to work with other species. Taught them maintenance and engineering, taught them security and tactics, taught them computer systems, and once a week when they visited the station, and taught them combat and honor. The program grew. By the end of the year there were 30 students. By the second year, 50. Other stations asked to start their own chapters. Word of the Terran brother spread across council space. Some dismissed it as legend. Others came to see for themselves. The ancient and set in their ways began to change. Other clans started looking for potential in species they had previously dismissed. The idea that courage and strength could exist in the small and weak, it was revolutionary. It challenged centuries of assumptions. 6 months after the attack, returned to station one final time before a long mission to the frontier. His had grown. 2 new warriors had joined specifically because they wanted to serve with the clan that had recognized a human as brother. Met him in the docking bay, the same bay where they had fought together. "You have built something good here," said, looking at the students training in the distance. "My people believe that only the strong survive. You have shown that the strong survive better when they stand with the clever, the quick, and the kind." "I'm just teaching what you taught me," replied. "That strength has many forms." Approached with a wrapped package. "For you, brother, you earned this not by taking life but by preserving it. That is rarer and more valuable." Unwrapped the package. Inside was a blade, its metal dark and beautiful, its edge sharp enough to cut light. Symbols were etched along the blade, the story of their battles together, rendered in script. "I can't accept this. These blades are sacred to your people." "Which is why you must accept it," said, stepping forward. "You showed me that strength is not just muscle, That victory is not always about killing. You made me a better warrior by making me think like prey that hunts. Placed one massive hand on shoulder. We mocked you as prey, soft, weak, worthless. We were wrong. You revealed yourself as something we had forgotten existed, Pack. The galaxy needs more like you, Lee, more who build bridges instead of walls. Will I see you again? Asked. Perhaps. The frontier is dangerous, but if we return this way, smiled, showing all his teeth, we will expect a good meal and terrible jokes. That is what brothers do. They left at dawn, their ships vanishing into the black, stood watching until the last trace of their engines faded. Found him there an hour later. You okay? Yeah, just thinking. About how I came here expecting to fix engines and stay invisible. Instead, I got hunted, almost spaced, fought a warrior, and accidentally started a revolution. Laughed. Life's funny that way. She paused. The new students are asking for you, wants to know about the trial with. Myra wants to learn that trick you did with the magnetic plates. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes. Took one last look at the stars, then turned back to the station. His station now, in a way. Not because he owned it, but because he had fought for it. Because he had proven that even the small and weak could change things if they were clever, brave, and refused to give up. The glowing mark on his shoulder had faded. The tattoo only lasted a year, they had warned him, but did not need the mark anymore. He had proven what he was. 10 years later, the binding, the ritual that made one a brother to the, had been performed 47 more times. Humans and other species both. The rigid warrior culture of the had evolved, becoming something richer and more complex. Was now a council ambassador for cross-species integration. He still wore the scars from his trial with. He still carried the blade had given him. And sometimes, when new recruits asked how a human became respected by the galaxy's most feared predators, he told them the truth. They mocked me, they called me weak, and they were right, I was weak. In strength, in size, in natural weapons. But I learned that weakness is just another word for potential. Potential to be clever, to adapt, to build alliances, to survive not by being the strongest but by being the one others choose to stand beside. But what if we're not strong enough? A young human student asked. His name was Bong, and he reminded of himself at 19, small, uncertain, but eager. Smiled. Then you find strength in others. You become pack, because the greatest predators aren't those with the sharpest teeth. They're those who choose to protect instead of devour, who build instead of destroy, who make brothers out of strangers. The class ended. Students filed out. Through the window could see ships docking, humans all working together. The galaxy had not become perfect, but it had become better. And it had started with one small human who refused to stay down, who refused to accept that weakness was destiny, who stood between a bully and a victim and said simply, stop. The galaxy respects strength, thought, but I taught them that strength comes in many forms, and sometimes the smallest voice saying no is the strongest force in the universe. He picked up his teaching materials and headed to his next class. There was always more work to do, more bridges to build, more students to teach, more prey to teach how to hunt. And somewhere in the frontier, fought their battles, carrying the memory of the young Terran who had shown them a new way to be strong. They had mocked him, they had named him brother. And he had changed the galaxy.